There is rising Afro-optimism among the continent's youth. That's according to the Ichikowitz Family Foundation's 2020 African Youth Survey.
By 2030, in just 8 years' time, Africans will make up 42% of the world's young people. So their young people need to be listened to.
Hope about Africa's future persists despite an 11% dip in Afro-optimism since 2020. Nonetheless, young Africans today remain optimistic about their personal futures.
This continent is going through a transformation. There really is hope, optimism, and a bright future for the continent.
It's the youth of Africa, the young people of today, that will provide the direction of tomorrow.
Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Ivor Ichikowitz.
Having had the opportunity to sit through the deliberations of yesterday and today, I have a profound sense of déjà vu, a sense that I have somehow been here before, a sense that we are right back in the struggle as I experienced it in the 80s. A struggle for our identity as Africans, for our dignity, and for our ultimate liberation. The circumstances and times are certainly different, but the principles are exactly the same. So I want to invite you to journey with me into the new Pan-African Freedom Struggle 2.0. Amandla! Comrades, compatriots, sons and daughters of our great African continent, friends of Africa, the time has finally come for us to take note of the collective wisdom in this room and to reunite our collective struggle and fight for the confidence for a future that is truly our own. Our shared history is one of struggle, one of resilience, one of overcoming diversity, and one of standing firm in the face of exploitation. Those that have fought before us, our elders and our ancestors, have paid a very heavy price to get us to where we are today. But in my view, the struggle is far from over. We have not yet, as Africans, reached anywhere near our true potential. And today I call on each and every one of you and all of the people in your respective circles to stand united in this new struggle and rise as one to create the Africa that we all dream of. A strong, independent, confident Africa that the rest of the world has tried to prevent us from building in the past. The time has come to build the Africa that the rest of the world is petrified of. We envisage an Africa where all men and women are completely equal, where the shackles of colonialism are forever cast off, and where we for once and for all can stand proud and united, confident in our own ability to forge our own destiny. We yearn for an Africa that is no longer lurching from one crisis to the next. We yearn for an Africa where our abundant natural resources fuel our own progress and our own prosperity, not the ongoing greed of foreign powers. We yearn for an Africa where beneficiation of our raw materials is no longer optional, an Africa where industry processes what comes from our ground. We yearn for an Africa where any government that continues to allow such looting and pillaging and exploitation must be held to account. where capital is accessible and affordable, and where capital providers no longer insult our intelligence by overpricing African risk just because they can and just because they always have. Our struggle is one for the creation of jobs in our own countries so that our people can be productive, have dignity, and have a stable income so that they can build long-term sustainable wealth. There's a perception that Africa's greatest wealth lies in its mineral resources alone. This, comrades, is not true. Our continent's greatest single asset is, in fact, its people. Our human capital has hitherto been completely undervalued. Our struggle is therefore one for education and enlightenment. We must make our children the vanguard of a new African renaissance, imbuing them with the knowledge, skills, work ethic, and most importantly, the passion to transform our continent through dedication and hard work. To change the world, we must first change ourselves. And that change begins with education. In order to do this, we need to ensure that access to the world's knowledge through low-cost, accessible data is enshrined as a basic human right, where access to information is democratized and where every single African, rich or poor, has access to the knowledge of the world always and from everywhere. Comrades, we must celebrate the fact that we are finally at a critical point in our history. We are finally at the point where our next generation of leaders are the first modern Africans who are truly born free. Born free of the shackles of colonialism, free of the shackles of apartheid, free of the perception instilled by the colonial powers and those that seek to control us that our Africanness is in some way a handicap. This is nonsense. This is a generation that knows that our Africanness is a God-given gift, that our Africanness is our superpower. Our dream of a new Africa is one free from the clutches of corruption, free from the clutches of tyranny, and free from the clutches of nepotism. We must cast aside these relics of a bygone era and build a society where democracy, transparency, and accountability reign supreme. This is a generation of African leaders in waiting who understands this. They no longer see government positions as a way to secure vast wealth. This is a generation that know that they have to work for their prosperity, a generation that no longer feels that the world owes them anything. You may well ask how I, a middle-aged, white, Jewish African, know all of this. Well, it's simple. I know this because the African youth have told me this. They've told me with confidence and with resolve, and they've told me in their tens of thousands as we've interviewed them for the African Youth Survey. The survey came about when I realized that my Africa, my colorful, vibrant, hope-filled, energetic Africa was completely different from the Africa that I was constantly told about, and I realized that there was such a huge disconnect that for my own sanity, I needed to go and find out who was right. This is why we embarked on what has become the most comprehensive survey of its kind anywhere in the world. Now in its second edition, we can with great confidence say that young Africans see the continent as I do, and they are ready to reignite the struggle. Our data confirms that young Africans are optimistic, entrepreneurial, and impatient for change. They are no longer prepared to be told what they can and can't do based on Western norms and conventions. And most importantly, they have made it abundantly clear that they are no longer prepared to wait for ineffective governments to provide. This is a generation who have the intention to take their lives into their own hands. They are ready to do whatever is necessary to ensure their prosperity, and if necessary, they will work around their governments to achieve this. The time has come for us to nurture, support, and celebrate our entrepreneurs, our innovators, and our visionaries, creating a fertile environment for African talent to thrive. We must stand as one against the forces of exploitation, ensuring that the fruits of our labor benefit our own people and that the interests of foreign powers are kept in check. We are more than capable of being partners who can stand toe to toe with our compatriots around the world. We are truly, in my view, at a turning point. Africa's time is right now. Our time, collectively, is right now. We are truly the generation that we have all been waiting for. A luta continua. May the struggle continue.
That was breathtaking, mind-blowing. Thank you so much for setting the stage in such a powerful way. When I look at the first survey that was published, as you mentioned that there was some optimism, and then we look at the 2022, the most recent survey, showing a dip in that.
For me, the dip in optimism was actually very, very small compared to the dip of optimism in optimism elsewhere in the world, because COVID proved how resilient we truly are as a continent.
Now, talking about our generation, many of them don't want to get into politics. And I'm wondering whether it is complacency on the part of us as the young people, or it is the older generation that is gatekeeping to the degree that it's inaccessible for your youth to actually get into politics and governance.
My view is that the answer to that is to change the nature of how we run countries in Africa. We created an environment in the revolutionary movements where we sold to our people the idea that government would provide. What it did is it created an entire generation of people waiting for their government to provide. No government can provide. Government's job is to create an enabling environment. Government's job is to create infrastructure that allows us to provide. And if we can break that legacy of the past, just that one thing, the continent will look completely different, not in 20 years' time, but in 5 years' time.
Okay, I will now open it up to the audience for Q&A. I can see very quick hands on this table.
Why has the youth voice been ignored for so long in Africa? It's because our revolutionary movements designed the youth wing to be the rabble-rousers. Our governments think of our youth as being the troublemakers. And I'm sorry, for a long time we were. It was what our job was. But that has changed. You today have a youth where even the youth that have not had the privilege of a formal sector education are today educated. The issue is play a constructive role. Play a constructive role in your communities, play a constructive role in your countries, and your skills will be recognized. We are telling African heads of state, and I have the privilege of traveling the length and breadth of the continent, talking to heads of state all the time. And what is the message I'm giving them? I'm saying ignore the voices of your youth at your own peril. If you don't talk to your youth, if you don't bring them into government, if you don't give them an opportunity to take leadership roles, they are going to take them anyway.
Thank you so much.
I have one final closing comment.
Sure.
You are the generation that we've been waiting for. If you take nothing away from this conference other than the fact that every single one of you have the future of the continent in your hands, the same way as my generation had it in its hands at that time. We screwed up a little, we got some stuff right, but you're going to get less stuff wrong. And that's my greatest hope and my greatest wish for what comes out of this process.
Thank you very much.